Zunächst einen Mann aus Nordirland, 34 Jahre alt, heuer unter den letzten 64 bei den UK Open und beim European Darts Grand Prix unter den letzten 32. Er ist aktuell die Nummer 95 der Welt. Hier ist Gavin Carlin. Gegner kommt aus England, ist 47 Jahre alt. 2014 hat er die Video World Trophy gewonnen. Heuer stand er im Achtelfinale beim European Championship und im 16. Finale beim PDC World Championship. Hier ist in Schwechat die Nummer 30 der Welt, Jeremy Dodger, James Wilson.
Cheer up, sleepy Jean. Oh, what can it mean to a daydream believer and a homecoming queen? Cheer up, sleepy Jean. Oh, what can it mean to a daydream believer?
I have to say, it's been a while since we heard Daydream Believer on the European Tour. James Wilson back with us once again. Let's not forget it was as recently as 2016 that he was a European Championship quarter-finalist. He made the semi-finals of one of these European Tour events in Riesa in that year as well. But 2019 has been a very different story indeed for the 47-year-old from West Yorkshire, making only his third appearance in Europe this year, and he won't be in Mannheim or Riesa either, so he's a player who will be looking to make the most of this particular opportunity. However, he's up against Gavin Carlin, one of the 11 players to secure a tour card at UK Q School at the very start of 2019, and a player who just has been catching the eye here and there over the last, 7 or 8 months or so. Rob Malarkey in the chair for this one. Dan Dawson's having a breather, so it's welcome back to the European Tour after a summer breakaway. He's been here, there and everywhere. He's looking refreshed, revitalised and ready to go, Paul Nicholson.
Thanks, Rob. Really great to be back, and great to be back in the multiversum as well. What a place to play darts. And this is a very good game, I feel, and there is pressure on James Wilson in more ways than one in this. We'll talk about that very shortly, but you're right about Carlin. We saw stuff from him earlier in the year, but it's time to step up.
First player Gavin to throw first. Game on.
Yeah, let's not forget, James Wilson did very well this week last year. So on his rolling order of merit, he is defending a chunk of cash. So the fact that he's not in the next two European events puts even more pressure on him. Yeah, made the final in Hildesheim this weekend 12 months ago at the end of August. So there is a lot of pressure on James Wilson, as well as the fact that he wants to put in a good weekend here to get himself in the frame for the European Championship and all the other spin-offs that go with it. And also, I think, just to get some fluidity back into his game as well. He has lost a lot of that over the past year or so.
180!
As the cannon
lives up to his name with the first 180 of the match.
Yeah, wonderful grouping there from Carlin. A snapshot into how we can group those tapered end barrels. Very handy player at the start of the year. There were 2 or 3 pundits who said, this guy's one to watch out for. Has he lived up to his promise? Probably not. But maybe he's a bit of a slow burner and he's just learning as he goes along.
Well, Wilson has had one highlight this year. That was his run to the semis of a Pro Tour event in June. But on the face of it, when you look at the prize money he's picked up this year, only £15,000 since the start of the year. And that in itself will add to the pressure as well.
60.
Can't quite get that third dart through the other two. He would have loved to have left tops there. But it's okay when the synonymous high scorer That is James Wilson. Hasn't really turned up yet.
Yeah,
That's the best visit of the match for James, and maybe that's just a sighter for him in the next leg. And he won't mind losing this first leg because it's on Carlin's throw. 2-10s to get it. Didn't like the first one, but the second one's pinpoint.
Yeah, good recovery there by Carlin, and that will do him the world of good. It's, I think, vital for him there to take out that finish at that particular visit rather than messing around too much. I suspect he might have had another opportunity, but that will do him the world of good.
81.
But yeah, I mean, just going back to Carlin, what he's achieved this year, of course, Q School, as we mentioned, in itself was a heck of achievement for him, especially when you consider that his first 2 days were a complete nightmare at the Robin Park Tennis Centre in Wigan. Did enough to qualify via the Order of Merit. Not too many people had heard a great deal about Gavin Carlin up until that point in time. He, I think, raised the most eyebrows over the course of those 4 days. And then on his Pro Tour debut, he was beaten by Peter Wright in the third round of the First Players' Championship event in Wigan, which was a good achievement for him to get to the third round there.
140.
And then, a week later, he made the last 8, where he beat Michael Smith, Jeffrey Desvan and Kim Huybrechts before losing to Michael van Gerwen. I mean, talk about baptism of fire.
140.
Let's not forget as well, Rob, that it was Gavin Carlin who took out Glenn Duran at the UK Open.
Which I was just going to come to.
No mean feat.
Yeah. And he's in good company as well this weekend. Brendan Dolan already through, Northern Irishman to the second round. Darryl Gurney, of course, here as well.
Now, James Wilson in this leg has been much steadier. And that's what he's searching for in his game right now. He's looking for some consistency. But James has struggled with a flickering eyelid this year, which has really been bugging him. I believe that little ailment has been fixed.
41.
And to get himself in the game, get himself a chalk on the board, he needs a skinny 16.
9.
Perfect chance for Carlin to steal at the start of this match. You can see at the back of the stage there, just next to the exclusion zone, he's just steadying himself before every single visit, and I like that.
Yeah, and he was having a good look as well, trying to work out which way to go. He's hit the single 1 there, which, well, it might work out for him, but it won't.
67.
See the method he was going for, but when you miss the 25 and the ball,
32.
you're forcing yourself to have 2 perfect darts. James only needs 1 perfect, 1 from 3.
Yeah,
only 1 he requires to get himself equalised.
Beautifully taken out
Game on.
to level things up at 1 apiece. Now, if you've been following Paul on social media this summer, you'll be well aware of his travels to Canada in particular. Rest assured, by the way, Paul is sitting on a chair, and all 4 legs of that chair are firmly on the floor behind the table in the commentary area. He is not positioned in any
60.
other way.
No trick shots in the commentary box, Rob. Not that we know of anyway. I'm sure there'll be some suggestions via Twitter in the next few minutes. But great trip to Canada to see Jeff Smith, who we do send our thoughts to if you are watching, Jeff. We hope that his business that sadly burnt to the ground in the last few days, we hope he can repair everything and get started again. We wish him all the best with his start in the next few months. It's been a tough year for him. Been a tough spring and summer really for Gavin. He's been searching for results. He's racked up a couple of grand on the European Tour Order of Merit. Now, you were talking about the rankings in the last game. I was listening in, and where that potential cut-off could be.
45.
And when I got 32nd place last year, it was £13,000. Sweating a bit on that last day in Göttingen, I can tell you that. But if you're Gavin Carlin on 2 grand, you're thinking, hang on a minute, if I'm not in the next 2 events,
41.
I've got a chance of getting to Gibraltar, but I'm going to have to make a great deal from this opportunity. He's going to have to pretty much go to the semi-finals, I feel.
It would be a very big ask for him, but, well, stranger things have happened. I mean, it wasn't a strange thing, I suppose, as far as Jamie Hughes was concerned, but we have seen unseeded players go all the way on these European tours, go deep in European tour events, and we've had life-changing, career-changing moments. We've witnessed it firsthand, and we saw precisely an example of that in Prague last time out.
Oh, this is looking good. Looking very good. Oh, look at that
on the
from
third
James
leg,
Wilson.
James Wilson.
That is what you call a peach, because that first start was followed by another perler and a beautiful, unhesitant shot at double 19. Ooh, have a bit of that.
Yeah, there almost seemed to be a sense of inevitability about each and every passing dart there. The first dart was excellent, perfectly set up for the second, and then there was just that nice fluidity down to the southern tip of the board, and there it was.
Well, James Wilson's game's always been about rhythm. He's got 2 or 3 different rhythms, but when he's consistent at one point in time, it tends to click. Sometimes he pauses, then throws just like that, and sometimes he continues just like that. When he gets it right, he does that.
Well, this is James Wilson. This is the 2016 vintage, or signs of, that we were talking about earlier. Winner of this to face Steve Beaton, by the way, in the second round tomorrow. Steve Beaton is the number 10 seed here this weekend. The seeding's based on the Pro Tour Order of Merit rankings from June the 21st or so, or certainly the midpoint of June.
100.
Around about the Pro Tour weekend that we had in Wigan that week in the summer.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a gap between some of the dates of qualifying for this tournament.
60.
The European Tour card holders, it was back on the 21st of June, just like it was for the UK-based qualifiers. But the South and West European guys did it yesterday, as well as the home nation qualifiers. So
41.
Maybe that will tell a bit of a story over the course of the day.
Well, Kordecker qualified for this in March. It was astonishing in Denmark. March the 9th, in fact, he played his qualifying programme for this tournament. So he's had the
85.
best part of 6 months almost to
Danger
get used to the
required
idea of
80.
coming here.
Yeah, look out for Kordecker. You can't miss him.
Question is whether Wilson will miss this 80 checkout here for a 3-1 lead. Looking to consolidate that break of throw.
Now, usually he'd go 15 bull here, but he's going to go for it. And he's going to hit it.
Showing a full flag.
What I was going to say Rob, was you would usually go 15 bull here if your opponent's on a finish. But then I forgot that James Wilson is the kind of guy that if he has a shot, he just goes for it anyway.
Yeah, I think also he's looking just to get some momentum going here as well. I think
100.
he's almost like a good test batsman. He's had to sort of dig in a little bit in the first couple of legs, but now conditions are more benign. He's making the most of this advantage, and he's in there again, and this is really watchable stuff from James Wilson.
Are you trying to insinuate, Mr. Malarkey, that we need to find a hand signal for a 180, a bit like a 4 when you sweep your hand from left to right? How about that for a bit of a trend on social media? If you've got anything in the way of an idea for a hand signal for a 180, please tell us, and maybe we can get it to catch on.
Rather than just waving a
100
piece of card.
And a 170 finish would have to be something like the 6, you know, the 2 fingers to the sky. I think that could catch on. See what happens when you watch too much cricket.
60.
This game is heating up really nicely, though, isn't it?
It is. Wilson certainly contributing the
100.
large part of the
161.
style on show so far, but I wouldn't rule Carlin out just yet. All he needs is to, first of all, remind himself that he is just one break of throw down here. Hold of throw here is absolutely imperative, though.
Yeah, he went the 19s route on the 161, which is becoming a bit more popular these days.
121.
Maybe we can dissect that a little bit more if it happens again. But a 1-2-1 for Jamie Dodger. He's looking at the 11. Now he's looking at the treble for double 14. Almost pipped it to get a 4-1 lead.
68.
Well, that would have given him a real upturn in momentum as well. Double 4, though, for Carlin here to keep himself in the frame.
64.
And that could well spell the end of Gavin Carlin, because if Wilson breaks again here, it would be very difficult to see Wilson squandering a 4-1 lead.
He's splitting it. 6 for that double 4, which has just been missed by Carlin. No hesitation at double 2, and it's the first real valuable misses from Jamie Dodger. Given Gavin Carlin a shot at the second ball, you could say. It's the Desmond double. 2 2s. It is 3 2.
To throw first.
Yeah, reprieve there for Carlin, but he needed that, and it may well just give him a bit more belief as he looks to just regroup here. Wilson will be a bit annoyed with himself. It'll be interesting to see how Wilson responds to all of that.
140.
When I was doing my preparation for this afternoon, Rob, I found something rather amusing. Of the 5 games that I am personally covering, none of them have ever
98.
met, including these guys, which is very, very rare, considering how much in the way of darts is played these days.
All 5 first-time encounters. That is unusual, I have to say.
123.
Just a quick word about Wilson's progress to this tournament in terms of the qualifying. It was absolutely ruthless.
60.
Played 2 matches, lost only 1 leg. That was against Michael Barnard. He had a bagling of Eddie Dewson as well.
Did really well in that match, though.
Yeah.
103 average in that game.
40.
That was a proper performance.
Whereas Carlin was a measure of consistency. 3 6-2 wins against Patrick Linsky, Ryan Meikle, and also John Henderson. No Hendo weekendo in Viendo this weekend.
Oh, that would have been a belter.
85.
I don't even think Dan Dawson would have thought of that one. Viendo. He's going to be kicking himself as our Hendo. I'll say one thing about Michael Barnard, who
81.
James Wilson beat in qualifying. He has had probably the exact opposite of last year, where he was unbelievable. He owned the Challenge Tour. This year, he has been
100.
exactly the opposite. It's the only way I can put it. He's had a nightmare. James Wilson needs tops.
97.
All of a sudden, the misses are just starting to creep in and he's giving Gavin Carlin just that little bit of extra hope that he requires.
Well, we've seen the 158 from Wilson already today. Now will we see the 158 from Carlin? No, we won't.
139.
I think that single 19 was
Danger required
in
20.
direct correlation to missing the double 4 previously low. He wanted it to be there instead of short. That
He's
one
on the
is
sick
in,
flag,
and it is
James
4-2 to Jamie
So play
Dodger,
Gavin to throw first.
who is wearing a shirt
Game up.
right now that almost resembles a rhubarb and custard sweet. It's very pink and yellow and orange and all things in between. I've seen some
100.
Rascal Dart shirts over the summer from some amateurs and some other great players.
Pushing the boundaries, would you say?
Oh, you've got no idea. Some of them look like pizzas dropped on the floor.
57.
Horrendous work. And yes, I'm talking about you, Jason Marriott. He tweeted me the other day talking about his new shirts, and they are just so colourful. And salt on the senses.
100.
Mentioned earlier about how Carlin and his progress at Q School raised the most eyebrows. I mean, the man himself admitted afterwards, after he secured his
77.
tour card, that he hadn't even heard of Q School until the year before, when some of his friends suggested that he should go to Q School. He'd been doing bits and pieces, of course, in the pub circuit
60.
and the amateur circuit in Northern Ireland. Appeared at the Six Nations and the WDF European Cup with his country, to what he says great experiences
57.
that he'll never forget.
I'll say one thing about Gavin Carlin that I really like. It's the action. It's really smooth. When he throws, he doesn't move 1 inch. Look at that. Straight up, straight forward. Now, the darts he's throwing there are not a great example of what I'm saying, but the stance itself and the free-flowing action that he has, I think he's a weapon, this guy. Just waiting to really hit the mark. And James Wilson was not
40.
looking to hit that wire. Previously in his career, he's had a real problem with hitting wires because they go in so steep.
Do you think he might have done this? Well, is there a case of too much too soon here for someone like Carlin?
100.
Gone to Q School, got the tour card straight away, straight into the deep end. What is he, 34 years old? Okay, time's running out, you might say, but players, of course, are having renaissances in their 40s.
120.
But would Carlin
Having
perhaps
you
have benefited from maybe
101.
2 or 3 more years operating on the development tour?
Potentially.
On the challenge tour?
Potentially. Just see where Gavin goes for this. He's not going to get a shot at a double.
49.
He's giving
Danger required
Wilson
150.
another chance at a 150 plus checkout. Staying on the 60s, another one. Oh, 3 bounce outs in 3 visits.
Yes,
admittedly, that one's off the flight.
And he's had his fair share of these. We've talked about it with Wilson before.
78. Going
I think he meant to ruin that stem, Rob.
Well, Carlin was allowed to get back in touch at 3-2. He might be allowed to get back in touch at 4-3 here. It would just be a hold of throw, but this would be a very important hold of throw as well for Carlin. But
44.
After that element of misfortune with his previous visit, has been given another opportunity by the 34-year-old from County Derry.
He can't possibly get another bounce out, because he's going nowhere near the wires. He's going somewhere and getting himself a victory. Here's James Wilson. That is a very good kill after some crazy misfortune in that leg. He was given that opportunity by Gavin. But to go back to your point, Rob, I think a lot of good players out there in the world, all they ever think about is Q School. And there's a very fine margin between getting through Q School and being a good challenge to a advocate. And I think maybe Gavin falls into that category right now. So it wouldn't shock me if after 2 years he was to lose his card, but then thrive on the challenge tour and be back very quickly.
And I suppose having had a taste of the life on the Pro Tour, he'll be more determined than ever to get back there ASAP.
Yeah, it's worked for a lot of people. Worked for Michael Barnard, worked for Wayne Jones, Mark Durbridge.
And he's got 2 years. I mean, let's not forget. I mean, I think the other aim for him is to just go into the second year a much more confident player. And there's a lot of finding your feet, I suppose, with a player like Carlin,
24.
Come in at the deep end like this straight away. So improve, develop your confidence as well.
It's important to learn as well
59.
When you win and when you lose, and figure out what went wrong and what went right. I say this to people that I coach and people who ask me questions. When you do something that works, write it down. Don't forget it. Because when you get in the zone, you tend to forget certain things. And when you do remember something that works and when it clicks, write it down and remember it.
Yeah, and let's not forget as well, this is only his second European Tour event as well. He played at the European Darts Grand Prix in Sindelfingen earlier this year. He was beaten in the second round by Gerwin Price that weekend. He overcame Dragutin Horvat in round one. He's beaten some good players. I mentioned the likes of Kim Huybrechts and Jeffrey de Zwaan and Michael Smith. He's beaten Ricky Evans, Stephen Bunting this year as well. So
100.
That will all be good fodder for him. Moving on.
Yeah, it's good stuff to tell your mates, that's for sure. At the start of your career. He's got a lot of time ahead of him.
100.
I always say that the prime for a dart player is probably between 35 and 45. Because you do have to learn. Treble 19. He's had a miscount there. And he didn't leave himself on the right double.
104.
He needed treble 19 for tops.
Yep, there is the evidence backed up by our scorer, Daniela.
We may have just seen a small weakness from Gavin Carlin. You cannot afford to miss shots like that, James Wilson, when you are given the opportunity 40. To take the match out and put salt in the wound. You can't miss that big number there, but you can't go for the wrong treble. And he's only just realising it now.
Yeah, he's just having to regroup here as well, and Wilson ready to pounce, waiting in the wings once again. Double 16 for Carlin. No margin for error here.
30.
But there is margin for error.
Danger requires 64.
And Wilson now returns looking at 64 for a 6-2 win and a place in the second round here at the Multiversum. Day one of the Austrian Darts Championship, and James Wilson sets sail into round two. The Jammy Dodger is back. It's been a torrid year for him on the European Tour calendar, but James Wilson with a real statement of intent, I suppose, as far as his first round match is concerned, overcoming a potentially very testing opponent to advance to round two, where he will meet Steve Beaton on Saturday. James Wilson, your second winner in this afternoon session.
Abschiedsapplaus.
Gavin Carlin.
Morgen sehen wir wieder in der nächsten Runde den Jammy Dodger.
We'll see him again later.
James Wilson.
Hopefully on the European Tour stage this year.
James, welcome to Austria and welcome to the second round. How does it feel entering the second round?
Yeah, back again. You know, I love Austria, I really do. It's got good memories for me. You know, I played Gavin there. You know, he played well, but he missed quite a few doubles. Had a few bounce outs. It's like I had 6 injections in my eye last Thursday, which has stopped it blinking now, so they're actually starting to get a bit better at darts. So onward to tomorrow.
So we wish you all the best for tomorrow. What do you think about the crowd? I think they're quite good looking, aren't they?
Quite good looking and fantastic for turning up. Cheers, you lot. Thank you.
This is your applause. James Wilson, see you tomorrow. Das war die zweite Partie.